Hello everyone, thanks for being with us, Mikheil Owergreen and the Russian accent. We are about to talk today breakthrough across the Ukrainian border, and this is our topic for today. According to the media, former Georgian leader Mikheil Saakashvili breaks through the Ukrainian border supported by former Ukrainian leader Yulia Tymoshenko and others. Saakashvili has pushed his way from Poland into Ukraine in a bid to regain his citizenship. As always, the media doesn't get to the biggest point of this story. As we could see, they say regain his citizenship. They don't really care about his breakthrough across the border, but this is a crime. I'd like to see what they would say if Mr. Saakashvili had broken through the German border. The supporters led by Mr. Saakashvili broke the cordon of border guards, and media is okay with that. This looks similar to what migrants are doing in Europe. They just cross borders with no passport, exactly the same as Mr. Saakashvili did. This is very strange story, considering all the time European politicians backed up the president of Ukraine, Mr. Poroshenko, against Russian President Vladimir Putin. Nowadays, the problems are inside the country, and the war is not a war with Russia. It is now a civil war. And the entire world sees that this problem is internal, not external. Mr. Saakashvili is very critical about President Poroshenko and his team. They act like how the Soviet Union used to act when they wanted to get rid of dissidents. They waited until they went abroad, then stole their citizenship. The Ukrainians' President Poroshenko act exactly like Soviet times, like KGB acted. Well, I think we no longer live in the Soviet times, and we have our own country, which has rules and laws, he claimed as he waited for hours at the border station. Yes, he was waiting for too long. Then he broke into Ukraine. That is all right. He had no choice, right? The Minister of Internal Affairs, Mr. Lutsenko, said that this is a crime, that Mr. Saakashvili will be prosecuted, and that this break-in was just a first crime. Today in Ukraine, politicians are beginning to discuss the next revolution, the next Maidan. Saakashvili's supporters spread to regions throughout Ukraine this morning to agitate Ukrainians for a coup d'etat. Usually Europe and the US actively comment on everything that is going on in Russia or Ukraine. At the moment, we do not hear any words of condemnation from the European Union. Does this mean that Europe supports this violation of the law in Ukraine and even a coup d'etat? Probably. In this case, we are about to see a new attempt at a coup d'etat, this time coming from the western side of Ukraine. Keeping calm will bring the situation to a new outbreaks of war, this time close to the border of the European Union. It looks like Ukraine has not yet fulfilled the Minsk agreement and cannot obey it further. So What is Europe going to do? For Angela Merkel, there is only one way to react this political question. Bring everything down to a law enforcement. Create a roadmap to implement the Minsk agreement and stop the war. Return to a peaceful life. In the meantime, the Normandy format is not effective anymore, and now it's not even the Normandy format. Lately, it is more like a phone format, where the four presidents do not even bother to meet in one place and come up with no results every time. Mr. Poroshenko can't keep the promise he made because France and Germany do not monitor the performance of the Minsk agreement. The roadmap for the implementation of the Minsk agreement was supposed to be presented by the Ukrainian side at the beginning of December 2016. Country of the Normandy format had set this date at the beginning of November 2016. Nothing has been done so far, even almost a year later. The reason why Mr. Poroshenko is not creating this roadmap is because he is not going to follow or implement the agreement. Germans are tired of this lie and have started talking about a step-by-step action to implement the agreement. And this is good, but it is a 1,000-mile journey, and the step-by-step policy will take eternity to get to the end point. It seems like war comes to a boil faster. Just imagine it, war in western Ukraine, a referendum in Catalonia, Muslim radical terrorists. Is it not too much for one small and quiet place like Europe? Thanks for being with us, and be ready for more in Ukraine. See you next week.